Welcome, guys. Today we are going to see a topic on demand forecasting. If you are a supply chain or logistic professional and wondering why this is important to me, you can watch this session. As you know, without proper forecasting, supply chain and logistic operation cannot be effective. So let us understand the basic requirement, the need for a demand forecasting. Possibly, even if you are not doing the forecasting, you need to understand how others, maybe many of the organization, the marketing function does the forecasting, but the input is given to supply chain and logistic for either strategical purpose or operational reason. But we need to know whatever forecasting given is under control of a error rate, because the forecasting cannot have a wider margin of error unless you understand how they are done and check whether this is within reasonable limit. It is fine. Otherwise, it is lead to a big catastrophe in the operation of supply chain. Nowadays, even the demand planning or demand analyst is a part of supply chain. Even though they may report to marketing, they are reporting under the dotted line to supply chain function. The reason is that is very important for the effective operation of the supply chain field. So let me give a brief introduction about demand forecasting. Possibly you might know to some level, but here specifically we will discuss about the need of this demand forecasting. Why do we need it? Those who are watching live in LinkedIn and YouTube, you are always welcome to comment or chat so that if you need any additional information, you can get. Forecasting is useful if you are a top level management guy and trying to bridge the gap between sales, marketing, and the supply chain. Work in sales and marketing, of course, this is the basic job. Or if you are working in supply chain logistic, you need this basic data to effectively handle your operation, especially in terms of inventory management for the core supply chain professional. In case of logistic, making sure the logistic availability as per the plan. Or you could be a field salesperson. Maybe it may not be helpful so much if your current forecasting process are very good. You don't struggle much, and you are perfectly handling the customer in terms of availability, also the capacity management. Okay, but this is not the real case. The other possibility is you work in a high-tech company where a large percentage of your forecasting challenge is with the new products and the end of life issues with the existing product. Many you can take in terms of mobile market. A new product is launched once in 6 months, so they have different issue how to handle the end of the life and then introduce a new product. So forecasting is not so critical for them because the existing volume will try to continue for them, so they may not depend more on the forecasting. If you are convinced that the key to forecasting excellence lies in advanced statistics and superior forecasting software, then you need not learn, but you have to be careful. I have specifically put wording in such a way that there are some cases where a large multinational company, they will spend millions of dollars in getting a sophisticated software, which is not the case in the remaining organization. Or if you are working in non-manufacturing organization, maybe freight forwarding, import export, or airlines, insurance, you may not depend on a detailed forecast, but in any case, at least to some extent, it is required. Now, why bother with forecasting? Some characteristic of the company that might be able to get without forecasting: The where even in other cases where you don't need a forecast is possibly you are manufacturing a luxury product. The customer is willing to wait, for example, after placing the order, they say I can wait for 3 months, 4 months, and within that time you can place order for material and get the item and deliver to them. Then in such case, why do you need the forecast? This is what happens in top class auto manufacturing. Also in aircraft manufacturing, they don't wait for the forecast because the lead time is long, so they are not worried. Or there are some technology companies where they can add or reduce capacity very quickly and economically. I heard Tesla can do this at a very short notice because of high technology. Huge money is involved. It's possible, but that is only a 5% of organization globally. Sometimes the owners of the business do not require forward financial planning, maybe private organization or small owner-held organization. Or otherwise, I can say 90% of the remaining organization, you need the forecast. Possibly, if we are making make to stock, ship quickly. For example, if you are selling through Amazon or any e-commerce platform, you cannot wait for the order to make a product. You have to make as per the forecast and store in some of the warehouses to be shipped immediately. Or you need the forecast when you want to change the capacity. Maybe you want to increase or decrease the people or equipment. Then also for the regular listed company, for financial planning, it is required. You can see in this table the uses of the forecast, financial planning. They are not bothered about the SKU level, even product level. For them, the overall at a longer period horizon is sufficient, and for them, dollar is sufficient. You can see current and future fiscal years. Sales planning, okay, for them it can be in units and dollar, in terms of weeks, months, quarter, but they don't need to work on long term sales requirement except for business planning. Then capacity planning for the supply chain and related functions. This is very important for them. Units or number of hours load, and they will also work months, quarter, and years. Why years? Some of the capacity enhancement can happen. It may take a lot of time, 18 months, 24 months. So they need a forecast. Sometime advanced procurement may be required in the, especially in commodity market, when the exchange rate is going up or the commodity prices are going up. You need some kind of a forecast there. Then master scheduling, this is core supply chain activity. You need to know the what is the final units required in terms of weeks. Maybe nowadays we also do it for days. Okay, you can see most of the function in the organization, they require forecast. Maybe the horizon is different. It can be weeks or months or quarters or years. Sometime it can be number of units, or sometime it can be number of dollars. Of course, you know the forecasting can be done either in dollar or number of units. What is too much forecasting? Possibly some companies, they do not do forecasting alone. They do manually guesswork, and they use it. Possibly it's okay for them if specifically they are in some service sector. At the same time, do you need too much detail into a long horizon? For example, forecasting at a SKU level, 3 years time, 4 years time, absolutely not required. So you need to be careful at what level this forecasting has to be done. Generally, apart from weeks or few months, we have to focus on product family. We call that as a aggregate or volume forecasting. This is very important. Of course, for the shorter period, when we talk about days or weeks, you need a mixed forecast. It means individual forecast at a component wise or similar item. Maybe you can see in this image, it gives some idea about the time funds. Now if you are in the weeks, maybe next 3 4 weeks, we are talking about the end items that for the immediate requirement. But when you are talking about after few weeks, maybe in terms of 6 months or 1 year, we are going to talk about product families. Okay, you need to forecast in terms of family, then only the accuracy will be more. Okay, this also helps when a company has a forecasting mechanism, and every function inside the organization will work with one number. Of course, there are other processes like SNOP, where this figure is presented and agreed among all the functions so that they can be used. When you have one set of number, it is fine for everyone. Otherwise, there will be a chaos in the operation. Okay, get rid of multiple forecast, assign accountability, and insist to only one set of number with which to run the business. Okay, most probably this set of number should also be approved by the top management. Okay, so the principle here is sales forecasting or demand forecasting is being done virtually every company that produces and sells products, either formally or by default. The challenge is to do well, better than the competition. Okay, it's not only taking Excel or machine learning methods and go directly jump into forecasting. You need to understand the process. Okay, first you need to understand why it is required and the background, why we are doing this. Then there are various methods. This is what we do in our program. The next principle number 2 is better forecast enable companies to hire customer service, to lower inventory, to run better, to work more cooperatively with supplier, and last but certainly not least, to sell product. In fact, having a better forecast improves the performance of the organization, to improve their revenue and the margin. On the other hand, it directly improves the performance of supply chain by ensuring the timely availability of material with the lower operation. Okay, so even in a supply chain, if you are not directly doing forecasting, you need to understand the process and also continuously monitor. And if somebody is issuing some wrong forecast over a period of time, it's going to affect your performance in supply chain and logistic. Imagine if somebody is giving a forecast of plus or minus 20% error, it means that you may have 20% of the time the material is not available, or in 20% of the instance you may have a surplus material. So this is the impact of having the forecast, especially in supply chain. Of course, it's not only a short term, we need to also look for the long term. Suddenly you cannot double your capacity. It may be not only in terms of warehouse, even a logistic. Assume you are exporting or importing 20 containers per month, and suddenly next month you are asked to do 40 containers. It's not possible so quickly. Okay, it's not only arranging container, then you need the warehousing to store, warehousing at least to set up and establish it, needs time. In this aspect, we are having multiple programs on supply chain, especially with respect to forecasting. We use supply chain analytics because after knowing the fundamental, you need to also know what are the methods of forecasting. There are some basic methods which you can do in Excel, but when it becomes advanced and complicated, then you need to use machine learning and Python. If anyone of you interested in details of our program, you can either ping me or our team so that you can get all the required details. So, any question from those who are watching live in Facebook or LinkedIn, you can type in the comment. Even if you are watching offline, Later, you're always welcome to comment either in LinkedIn or in YouTube so that our executive can reach. Thanks for watching. Have a nice evening.